Welcome to Raising Consciousness with me, Lou Burrows, where raising human consciousness happens. On this show, I'm joined by guests to cover a range of topics and have conversations that will raise human consciousness for current and future generations. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hi everyone, welcome back to Raising Consciousness with me, your host, Lou Burrows. And today on the show, I'm going to be talking about a concept that I have put together and created and forms one of my businesses, Think Different. And it really goes alongside what I shared in the last episode around humanity first values. So if you haven't checked out that episode yet, I would highly recommend doing so. All you need to do is click the link in the description. I will link episode 20 in the description. And towards the end of that episode, I did say that we would be talking about what I'm going to be sharing today. It did depend on some guests, but here I am. And yes, I'm going to be talking about this concept called Humanity Plus. Okay, Humanity Plus. Remember Humanity Plus. Okay, because that is the topic for today's episode. And I'm going to dive straight into that, to be honest, because it's something that I'm, alongside the values, actually, alongside the Humanity First values, something that I'm really passionate about. And it's not just at Think Different that we have really implemented this into our business. For everything that I do, this concept is also at the forefront of my mind. With Think Different though, we are teaching and we are educating and we are guiding and supporting more so other leaders, other business owners, other entrepreneurs, other creators and influencers, right? Other personal brands to also apply this concept to what they do. So if you're not familiar with Think Different, then I also link that down below. But basically, Think Different is a business and career consultancy where we guide and support fellow business owners, right? Businesses, companies, personal brands, from your speakers to your influencers, helping them to apply this concept to their business, to what they do, to their business. So without further ado, I'm going to hop straight into what is Humanity Plus? What does Humanity Plus mean? What does it stand for? And where did I get this concept from? Let's start there. So in terms of where I got this concept from, I actually got inspired by a book that I was reading called Buddha and the Badass by Vishen Lakhiani, who is the founder of Mindvalley. And such a great book. I'll link that down below as well of linking, but I want to be able to share these resources with you guys. And yes, such a great book. And I've got a lot of ideas and concepts from this book. And Becoming Humanity Plus was one of these ideas, right? It was one of these concepts. Funnily enough, however, how I've applied this and what it means to me, it's been something that I've been working on for a little while. I think what the book helped me to do was to bring it to life, because beforehand it was just a concept written down in my journal, written down in my notes, and it wasn't fully formed. And through reading the book, it was like, now I can link these two things up and bring it into the world ultimately, guys. So Becoming Humanity Plus is centered around a 5-pillar approach, okay? It's centered around 5 different steps you take that helps us all to create a business, to create a brand, or create a career where we do what we love and contribute to the world in a meaningful way within a model that does good for everyone and moves humanity forward. So let me repeat that. Becoming Humanity Plus is about you doing what you love. It's about, through doing what you love, you're contributing to the world in a meaningful way within a model that does good for everyone and moves humanity forward. Now, this is also something that is close to my heart, like the 6 values I shared in the last episode, because for so long, I was doing something that I hated. I was in a career that I hated. And I wouldn't even really call it a career per se, but I was working a job that I hated, right? And hate is a strong word, but I did. And it was one of the things that led me to facing anxiety, depression, etc., and some of my darkest moments. So the whole idea of doing what we love is something close to my heart. Why does it have to be an idea? Why does it have to be a concept? Because we're only here once, right? Or at least in this form, at least as a human being. And so doing what we love, in my mind, is a natural byproduct of us being a human being. Yet we get caught up in the cycle of society and other people's pressures and ideas and get into the system of the 9 to 5 or working or staying at a job or running a business or in a career that we don't love, that we don't like, that doesn't enable us to be our higher selves and serve and contribute in the way that we are designed and meant to contribute in alignment with our strengths, skills, gifts, talents, passions, and interests. And that is such a huge part of becoming Humanity Plus. But it doesn't just stop there. And in a minute, I'm going to break down the 5 pillars, because if we are, let's say, just doing what we love, like I could just do what I love, play football or watch football. That's one thing that I love. And we all have different things that we love and that we're passionate about. And some of them serve us and give us energy and allow us to recharge, which we need. I believe that we need for self-care and just to experience life. And then there are other things that we love and are passionate about that we can intentionally bring into the world and use as a vehicle to serve, to contribute, and ultimately, like the ultimate goal, to move humanity forward. So this is what becoming Humanity Plus allows us to do. And it doesn't matter whether you are a business owner, it doesn't matter whether you are a leader of a team or a manager, it doesn't matter whether, like, whatever you do. Personally, I believe that the concept of becoming Humanity Plus is our moral responsibility as human beings, because all of us can contribute in some way to moving humanity forward. End of. So you could be listening to this and be like, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a business owner, I don't have a vision to build the next Apple, the next Amazon, the next Nike, the next Adidas. Great. You don't need that. It got brought up in the last episode around the value of contribution, that oftentimes we get into this mindset of when we're contributing, we have to contribute on such of a huge scale of building the next Apple or whatever it is. And while that is part of it, for some of us, if that is in alignment with our strengths, skills, gifts, passions, ideas, and the vision that we have for our life and how we believe that we are here to contribute, then play full out. Start that path, play full out. For some of us, that could be looking at what we're good at and what we're passionate about, merging that together and starting a blog writing about health and becoming the best we can at that. It could be serving our local community in a way. It could even be parenthood. The point here is when we talk about contribution, it's our moral responsibility, I believe, that we all contribute in some way. And Humanity Plus allows us to do that. It allows us to do that with purpose. It allows us to realize that we can all contribute in some way. I just wanted to touch upon that because what I'm about to share with you, the 5-step approach, can be applied to whoever you are and whatever you do. At Think Different, we focus in on working with businesses and companies, and then personal brands, from influencers to athletes to speakers and leaders, etc. People who have an audience, people who are in that position of, let's call it, authority, people like power, maybe you could also call it. This morning I was like, actually, it's like people in the public domain a bit, like public figures, etc. But this can be applied to if you are, as I said, a parent, if you are, like, whatever you do. So I want you to keep an open mind. I want you to keep an open heart. And I'm just going to now dive into the 5 steps. There are some pre-steps to this model. There are some, I call them the pre-steps to becoming Humanity Plus, and they're all about working out and discovering your core purpose, other known as your why, your foundational values, and if you're working with other people, like what you collectively stand for as well. So to be mindful of that, there are some pre-steps. Next week, at the time of recording this, on the 25th of August, I'm starting to run webinars on this topic, on the topic of becoming Humanity Plus. So I will link that down below. If you miss next week's, then we will be running other sessions on this particular topic. But I want you to join, if you're listening to this right now or before the 25th of August, to sign up. And I'm going to be walking through these steps. In the webinar, I plan to take a little bit more of a deep dive into the pre-steps as well. But it is made up of your core purpose, your personal values, and then the values of the people that you are working with around, oftentimes known as organizational values if you're in a company. It could be collective values if you're in a group or a team maybe. Or if you want to apply this again to your home life, right? It could be family values, etc. The idea is, in the precepts, is you discover your core purpose, your core why that fuels everything that you do. You work out what you personally stand for, your values, and then you work out with the people around you what you collectively stand for. Okay, so that's like the 3 steps, or the 3 pre-steps before we dive into the 5 steps of becoming Humanity Plus. So you have this pre-stage, as I like to call it. Once you have that clear and dialed in, it helps you then to become Humanity Plus. So the first step in becoming Humanity Plus is your team and your support network. So really what this step is all about is, through whatever you do, whether you are a business owner, whether you are a manager, a team leader, whether you are a athlete or a influencer, a creator, a speaker, on some level, and at some point in your journey as well, you're going to have either a team or a support network around you, or both, ultimately. So you're going to have a team or a support network. Through what you do, how is through your work impacting in a positive way your team and your support network? That's the first level. So for example, you are a business owner, you have a team of 5 people. How is the business? How is the culture? How is everyone coming together having a positive impact on your team? So how is through what you do having a positive impact on your team or your support network, and changing their lives, helping them in some way, helping them to grow, helping them to evolve? I'm not here to tell you what that is to be. With all of these steps, is about working out what you want that to be for your team, right? For your support network, through what you do. And with all of these 5 steps, one of the number one ways in which you work this out is by again, I've mentioned it a few times, coming back down to what are your strengths, skills, gifts, passions, interests, ideas, etc., and bringing them into the world, okay? But the first step is your team and your support network. I'll repeat it so you guys get it, all right? So you guys get it. So through what you do, whatever that is, and whatever scale, how is through what you do having a positive impact and changing the lives in a positive way, your team or your support network, depending where you are in your journey. Okay, so right now, if you're just starting, your support network could be your family, it could be your friends, one business partner, but together, how is some sort of team environment, all right? Some sort of support network, and how is through what you do having a positive impact. The second step is the people you touch, okay? So obviously, like on some level, you touch the people in your team. With the people you touch, what I'm really getting at here is your audience. The people's lives you touch outside of your support network, outside of your team. They are your audience, and they are the people that you serve. In business, they are your customers and your end consumers. I learned a very important lesson in my own business journey a little while ago, actually. The difference between a customer and your end consumer. Very different. Create a business, create a product, create a service, or through whatever you do, create something that doesn't just impact your customers, but your end consumers. Very different. For example, so the best example is to use kind of parent-child. So if a child wants a video game or an action figure, whatever, the customer is the parent because the parent buys the product or buys the video game. The end consumer is the child. And so in business, what we're saying is create something that impacts in a positive way the customer's life, aka the parent, and the end consumer's life, the child. I just wanted to explain the difference between the two there. In sports, because explain the difference. In sports, it's your raving fans. If you're an influencer, it could be your community if you have like a membership or something. So really your audience and the people who you serve. I like to think of this as the next level of people you touch outside of your team and your support network. Think of it like that. And ask the question. So you ask this question to become Humanity Plus. Whose life are you touching through what you do? And how are you touching their lives in a meaningful, positive way, making a positive difference? How is through what you do impacting, creating positive change, and making a positive difference in their lives? And I like to encourage people to think in a big way. And it's also on multiple scales. So I don't want to confuse you, but I'm going to give you an example. My business partner, Leroy, loves, I think, every time I share this, is that, so for example, let's take Coca-Cola, right? That's a perfect example of not that product. The company as well is a perfect example of not becoming Humanity Plus. Okay, and if I contextualize that to this category in particular, they can have an amazing workplace culture. I don't know if they do. If you work there or know somebody who does, I'm curious to know. But for this example, they could have an amazing workplace culture, but their product doesn't impact their customers and their end consumers' lives in a meaningful, impactful way. You might be thinking, but it brings, in that moment when you're drinking a can of Coke, it brings happiness. Obviously, they're one of the most successful brands in the world. However, their product damages people's health. So how can, therefore, it create a positive impact in one person's life? This is the thing with becoming Humanity Plus, and especially in this category of your customers and your end consumers and the people you serve. You can't be, in my opinion, on how I've created this model, you can't be positively impacting somebody's life in one way, let's say giving them pleasure, and negatively impacting their lives in another, let's just say, using this example, damaging their health. And that's a lot, to be honest, what happens within the food industry, right? Is that they create products that gives people joy and happiness because it tastes good. They hijack our brain. They hijack so many other parts of our body and our taste buds and everything, to be honest. But I'm not going to dive into that. Just as an example, you could say is that positive because it's bringing joy to people on one end, on one spectrum, but it damages their health. So that doesn't equal becoming Humanity Plus. In this second area of your audience, the people you serve, your customers, etc., again, I will repeat it so it's clear. This isn't about positively impacting their lives in one area and then the product or service you create negatively impacts in another area. On all areas, it has to positively impact in some way to move everyone forward. That's what ultimately we're looking for. So again, I just wanted to share that with you with the second pillar, which is all about the people you serve. You want to be creating something that impacts their lives on all levels, or where there is no negative impact. There's positive impact, but there's no negative impact through what you do. So the third pillar is therefore the wider community. So when we get into the third, fourth, fifth pillar, I like to envision a circle. And within a circle, you have outer circles. And now we're on like the third outer circle. And on the third outer circle, as I mentioned, it's the wider community. So if you're impacting all of your customers' lives or your audience lives in a positive way, that is going to create a ripple effect throughout the wider community. Using the example of health, because I think it's one of the best examples that we can use. If let's just say I have two products. One is damaging my health, but giving me pleasure enjoying the moment. The other one is not. Ultimately, it's the opposite of that. If I consistently consume the product that is damaging my health, even in the moment maybe I don't know about it, that's going to contribute to how I think, how I feel, and therefore how I act and behave in the world, which is then going to have an effect on how I show up in my environments, how I am at home, how I am when I show up for work, how I am in business, how I am in my social life, etc., etc., through me consuming that product. Because everything has a ripple effect. It's the law of cause and effect, if you want to go away and research that. One of my favorite universal principles. So, as business owners, leaders of companies, and personal brands and influencers, etc., it's about being aware of how, through what I do, am I not only impacting my community, my audience, the people who I directly serve, my team, and then my customers, how is through what I'm doing therefore having a ripple effect throughout the wider community, and what is that impact? And to start to create and to start to change that if that impact isn't positive, right? If that impact isn't good ultimately, right? If that impact isn't positively contributing to advancing the lives of those in the wider community. Again, I hope you can see how it's like that circle effect, right? Where you have the middle circle, the outer circle, etc. So the fourth step is then the world at large, okay? So the world at large refers to really exactly that, the world at large, and it goes beyond the ripple effect I was talking about, goes beyond the wider community, and in some form, some shape or form, positively impacting the lives of every single human being on the planet, or touching their lives in some way. So the question we ask is, so what are you doing to positively impact the world at large? Now you might be thinking, how do I do that, etc., etc. And one of the number one ways in which I've come up with or discovered in which we can impact the world at large is through shifting or changing culture in some way, which often comes back down to the things that we believe in. So let me give you an example. If you believe in so much so let's in this example use the workplace. If you believe in so much that remote working is the way, right? You believe in that, you've integrated it into your company, into your business, you believe in it so strongly, and you've seen the positive impacts in that, like the freedom it gives people, how it can increase work performance, etc., work-life balance, etc. If you believe in that so much, you can be one of the leading voices to shift culture in a way where they become more open and more receptive to remote working, like in the way what has happened during the past 2 years at the time of me recording this, right, with the pandemic and everything. Remote working has now become way more accepted in culture. And before the pandemic, you had people who were leading the charge on that conversation and in some way shifting and changing culture. Of course, the pandemic helped, but they were there. They were the leading voices. And so they're some of the people that therefore have shifted culture. Think of all of the top brands that we think of today. They started it from somewhere, Apple, Nike, etc. All these top businesses and brands have shifted culture in some way. And some people might argue if it's advanced humanity or moved humanity forward. In my opinion, it has. So that's really the goal here. And it's about touching the world at large, making that contribution on this fourth scale in the way, again, how you can do that, or how you can be on the journey and the path to do that. Okay? It doesn't always mean, go back to it, building the next Apple. that's an example to give you on how these top brands and companies start small and grow and then shift culture, right? Because they believe in something. The book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, right? It talks about Apple's core purpose, Apple's why. Simon Sinek gives the example of Apple in his book as an example of a company that has applied that why, which is why we have the pre-steps. So we all start from somewhere, my point being, and when we believe in our why and our core purpose, and we use that to fuel us moving forward, it helps us then to shift culture because we believe in something so strongly. So that's step 4. Step 5 is the environment. So we live on this amazing planet, this beautiful planet that at the time of me recording this, and given our level of consciousness right now, are only aware of this planet and everything that this planet can do and all the species, etc. So why aren't we looking after it is the question, right? And therefore is the goal to move towards, right? So we live on this beautiful planet that was here before us and that will be here after us. I believe that. I believe that we are merely, therefore, the tenants of planet Earth and have a responsibility, guys, to look after this planet, to look after this planet. If we're going to call this planet our home, let's look after it. We look after our physical homes, right? So let's look after the planet, which also we call our home, bigger home, if you will. So in Becoming Humanity Plus, we're asking the question, how are you contributing to the environment and the planet in which we live and in which we call home? How are you doing that? And then how is that also creating a ripple effect through all of the people's lives that you touch as well? So that's Becoming Humanity Plus, okay? A 5-step model, a 5-step approach to creating a brand, a business, or a career that moves humanity forward basically through us doing what we love and contributing to the world in a meaningful way that does good for everyone. I hope you can see how it does good for everyone, because in the pre-stage, we're working out and discovering a lot about ourselves, right? Our core purpose that fuels us. Also in this stage, like our passions and the things that we stand for, our values. We're taking that and we're working with people who also believe in those things on some level. We're creating our collective values and we're positively impacting their lives. We're positively impacting the lives of the people around us. We're then going out more into the world and we're positively impacting the people's lives who we touch through our career. But if we're in business, our products, our services, through ultimately what we do. The next stage then is we're going out there into the world and through what we do and through impacting our customers, it's impacting the wider community in some way. It's creating healthier communities, better communities, and then the world at large, and then the environment. So it just keeps going. It keeps going, and we keep creating that impact. So that is what Becoming Humanity Plus is all about. And I believe, again, as I mentioned at the start of this, that it's something that we can all reach. It's something that we can all achieve and have a moral responsibility to do so through what we do. And I believe it leads to more meaningful work, more meaningful business, more meaningful careers, because we're becoming more conscious of our impact. And again, we're leading with more purpose. So I hope you found this episode insightful in some way. And so what I would love for you to do is to take a look at what you do right now, whether you're in business or not, or maybe what you want to do. Maybe you're in a place where you're reflecting on your career or even your business and you're in a state of flux. You're thinking about a career shift, a career change. Go through this for yourself and think, okay, so what is actually my core purpose? Oh, I feel my core purpose is this. What are the things that I stand for? Oh, I stand for this and this. How do I want to impact my team or my support network? How do I want them to feel? And you go through the 5 steps and work this out for yourself. And apply it to your business. Even if you don't take it forward into the future, just right now as you're listening to this, just get a pen and piece of paper and just I like to call it a little brain dump, right? Just go through the 5 steps really quickly and just write down the first things that intuitively come up for you, the first things that come into your mind, the first things that come up through you, and just brain dump it down. And then you can either do one or two things. Allow it to sit there and be in your consciousness, or reflect on it more. Sometimes I like to do one or the other when I'm going through these things. Sometimes I just brain dump and then just allow to sit with it. And then sometimes I like to go back through it and reflect on it more and gain more further insight. So either one of those steps, but the first step is to, when we wrap up this episode, just brain dump through the pre-stage, the 5 steps, and write down what is coming up for you as it's fresh in your mind. I'm going to end this episode by inviting everyone who's tuning into today to join our next webinar on this topic, Becoming Humanity Plus. At the time of this recording, it's on the 25th of August, 2022. So that's next Thursday at midday. We're going to kick things off at midday. The webinar should be about 60 minutes. If you have a Q&A, it might go a bit over. But if you'll listen to this after the 25th, you can still sign up for the next webinar, which is why my invite is to join us for the next webinar. And the link for that is going to be in the description of this episode. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today, guys. I hope that, again, this has been insightful for you. And yeah, get a pen, a piece of paper, brain dump it down, what is coming up for you right now as it's fresh in your mind. And I will look forward to speaking to you in the next episode. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Peace out. If you got value from this episode, found it insightful, or learned a thing or two, please leave a review where you can let everyone know that this show is worth checking out. I appreciate you so much. You'll be hearing from me in the next episode.